So who did you have picked for your semifinals? So I actually picked India, Australia, England, and West Indies. But West Indies have only played one game. I'd like to see them play some more before I can say how confident I have of my predictions. But so far, I'm sticking to those. Who were your predictions, and have they changed given the first week of
So
games?
my predictions haven't changed. I said India, Australia, England, and New Zealand. I think that yeah, I think there are teams that would definitely run New Zealand or one of the teams close, and they could be a Pakistan or a West Indies. I used to think South Africa would be one of them who would run a 14 close, but clearly not. Um, I just fear. I understand where you're coming from with West Indies. My concern around them is on two things. One is just sheer consistency, right? I don't think they've performed consistently enough and long enough in ODIs to merit. Yeah,
Yeah, they haven't won a
exactly.
bilateral series in
So
four
where
years.
all of this optimism around West Indies is based off of a couple of games, one being the warm up, the other being against Pakistan, which I think has more to do with Pakistan's kind of capitulation rather than West Indies really outperforming them. And then the other thing is, I think they're missing a key element in their team, which is a really good spinner. And as the the competition progresses, the wickets I think will get slightly slower, and spinners will come in. And I think West Indies are missing a trick in their squad with that.
So do you see a clear top four, or do you see any of West Indies, Bangladesh, Pakistan, challenging for that fourth
I'd
spot?
like to believe Pakistan challenges it. I think Bangladesh can give some teams a good run for their money. I feel Bangladesh would be a strong contender as well.
Okay, I mean, let's make some predictions. I always like making predictions on this show. So give me an easy, a short prediction, apart from your four semifinals for the rest of this World Cup, and give me a bold prediction, something that, people wouldn't expect.
Oh, are you saying that I redefined my semi-finalists?
No, so leave those. So you predict. So make another prediction, another easy prediction. I mean, maybe the top run scorer, the top wicket taker, and then give me a bold prediction, something that people wouldn't have expected. A hot take from Aun Ansari.
I think Australia, for example, I've always maintained is the team to beat in this World Cup. A gut feel tells me Bangladesh will beat them.
Okay, so you have Bangladesh beating Australia
Yep,
in the group stages. That's definitely a bold
yep.
prediction. What's your easy prediction?
Oh, easy prediction.
India, Pakistan? Is that an easy prediction?
India, Pakistan. No, actually, I don't know whether you would. I'm hesitant on calling India Pakistan. By the way, really depends on uh, how Pakistan performs in the next couple of games. But I think we might be in for a surprise there with Pakistan potentially for the first time beating India. But again, it's difficult for me to separate my patriotism and think rationally there. So I won't call that. I think the easier prediction here would be um, England potentially. I think England is going to beat. Uh, it's going to win at least six out of their remaining seven matches. So I think that's an easy prediction
Yeah,
there.
I think that would be an easy prediction. What about Afghanistan? Do you think they can get on the board this World Cup? I think they'll win at least one game. I'd probably pick them to beat. I mean, Sri
I was
Lanka. They should have
I
won.
was picking them to
Give me
beat Sri
Bangladesh.
Lanka. I think that's a missed opportunity for them. I really was
Definitely,
picking them.
definitely.
I don't see them registering a win on the board. Actually, I
I think
just
their
don't.
batting is weak. I mean, they're explosive, but they just don't seem to have the maturity to kind of stick around when they need to. The bowling is good. They'll give their batsmen a chance, but if those top two or top three stick around for 15 overs, they'll be able to win some games. But they just don't seem to want to stick around.
Yeah, and also, truth be told, I don't think they've got the stamina to last the competition. Their fielding is pretty bad. They're not fit as players, barring a couple, obviously, like someone like a Rashid Khan or a Mohammad Nabi are thorough professionals that played in leagues across the world. But overall, they're not geared up for a 50-day competition. And I think as as we get deeper into it in this league stage, you will see that performance is going down rather than up.
So I made my MVP list in the first show based on trade value. So not necessarily the best players, but the value to each team. So
Yeah.
who would teams give up their players for? Who wouldn't? So in the top 10, for example, that means the person at 10 you would only give up for the player 9 players above him, and the first player, if you had him, you wouldn't trade him for anyone else in the world. Just to recount, at number 10, I had Kagisa Rabada. At number 9, Glenn Maxwell. Number 8, Andre Russell. Number 7, Ben Stokes. Number 6, Jason Roy. Number 5, Steve Smith. Number 4, Owen Morgan. Number 3, MS Dhoni. Number 2, Joss Butler. And number 1, Virat Kohli. So, what do you make of my list, and what would your list look like?
So firstly,
And I'll give you the benefit of having seen the first week of games.
yeah, firstly, I think I like the approach that you took to this MVP, right? Like the trade value thing, rather than just looking at who the best players are, makes a lot of sense. It makes it a lot tougher as well to come up with an MVP list, to be honest. Um, I won't start off by naming, all 10. I will leverage your list and tell you who I was surprised by to see in there.
Yeah, tell me where you think I'm right and where you think I'm
Yeah,
wrong.
so I don't see Jason Roy in there, to be honest. The reason why I say that is, when I think of players across the world, when I see like a Warner or even a Gupta from New Zealand, right? I think they they are pretty high impact players. Jason Roy, yes, has done really well in the past couple of years. Performed tremendously. He's You also need to take into account that you've got Besto in that side as well, who helps him out as an opening partner. And I don't think Jason Roy is tested in conditions outside of England too much. But having said that, in a World Cup context, I still think you've got the likes of Guptill and Warner, who I would choose over Jason Roy. Um, in terms of the MVP list, I think one player who I would definitely add in there is Shakib Al Hassan from Bangladesh. I don't,
I think he's definitely proved his worth over the first
yeah,
two
and
games,
and I
definitely.
don't think even at the start of it, forget the week one, right? Like even at the start of the World Cup, if you were to go to Bangladesh and ask them to exchange Shakib for any other player in a similar category from any other team in the world, I don't think you can come up with a player who would replace Shakib. Think about it, right? Like Australia has Maxwell. He's not half the baller that Shakib is. Um, England has Moeen Ali. He's not half the batsman that Shakib is. Um, you don't have
What about Shaki for Ben Stokes? Who makes that trade?
Shakib for Ben Stokes. Again,
Yeah.
I do think that I separate out a fast bowling all rounder versus a spinning all rounder. But if you even look at the all rounder category in itself, I think the position that Shakib bats in, and the consistency that he shows, I would still choose Shakib for Bangladesh's context, because they've got like
Fair enough.
Mahmudullah in there, who does pretty much the role of a Ben Stokes and is a bit of a finisher, right? So he's obviously not as good as a Joe Root, um, but he's somewhere in between Ben Stokes and Joe Root. No, sorry, not Joe Root. I meant um, sorry, Butler. Yes, yes. Sorry, I was saying, yeah. So he's not as good as a Joss Butler, but then again, he's from Bangladesh's context. He's pretty consistent in that position. So I think Saqib over Ben Stokes. It's a close call, but I think, to your point, if you were to go to Bangladesh Cricket Board, they would stick with Saqib.
And no arguments with Kohli at one, or is there a
No
discussion to
arguments
be
with
had?
Kohli at one. I do think Bumrah makes it in. I don't know.
I think definitely probably given the first few games, Bumrah over Rabada for sure. I think Rabada he's been good. I mean, but Bumrah's been better, and Rabada just hasn't been support. I mean, the results make a difference. He just hasn't been
Yeah, like
supported by
like
his team.
Bumrah for sure comes in, possibly ahead of Rabada. Um, and I think other than that, yeah, I was also surprised by. I mean, I wasn't surprised. I was just, when you put in Morgan up there and quite high as well. Um, I was just wondering whether you've given too much credit to his captaincy versus, yeah.
No, I do. So I don't think he's their best player. I don't think he's even their best batsman. But I think they view him as the most important member of the team. So from an environment, from his leadership, I think he sets the tone for everything they do, whether in the field, whether giving the batsmen the confidence. So when those batsmen fail, when they have those games where they'll get dismissed chasing the ball, or they'll be all out in 40 overs and they'll be 10, 15 runs short. He takes the blame. He'll say that, no, this is our approach. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to stick to our guns. And I think that leaves everyone else free. They're not worried about what the media is going to say. They're not worried about the critics. They know their captain has them back. And I think, at least for this World Cup, obviously this isn't, a 10-year list. For this World Cup, I think that makes him extremely valuable
Yeah,
to England's
yeah,
cause.
I see your point. I just wonder whether it's Morgan's approach or more the approach that the coaching staff have taken with this team. But I can buy it. It might just be Morgan's aggression that's rubbing off on his team.
Okay, thanks very much, On, for your time.
Thank you.
Well, that brings an end to this week's episode. We hope you'll tune in again next week, right here on The Leading Edge.